What's up, you guys? Marty Schwartz here with Marty Music. I'm going to break down 10 of my favorite Led Zeppelin riffs right now and talk about each riff, you know, kind of like where they came from. I think you'll enjoy it. If you haven't yet, also, I appreciate you subscribing here to the Marty Music YouTube channel, so thanks for that. Number 10, Good Times, Bad Times. It's a classic. You know, it's hard to pick just 10, but let's start with that one. Good Times, Bad Times. You know, really the best riffs tend to be in E, A, and D. And the power chords fit perfectly with those top three open strings. And then also with D, in particular, you can do drop D, and now you have a low foundation for rock riffs. Now, Good Times, Bad Times is actually in E. You know, a bunch of Jimothy Page's best riffs are in E. Now, the chords that the riff kind of revolves around, what I really like about it is this C sharp minor note. And so that comes from E Mixolydian. Now, the three chords of E Mixolydian that this riff kind of revolves around are E major, D major, and C sharp minor. Or it could imply E, D, A. But clearly they're not playing that, they're playing a killer riff. So they've got the E power chord, lots of open space, as the best riffs have space. Then you've just got this D power chord. And instead of strumming it, you got a little picking pattern. And then a D major arpeggio. Then that C sharp note, which is from that E Mixolydian. And so that could imply the third of A major or C sharp minor. And then a little bit of chromaticism, which means three half steps, or, you know, three notes in a row, or four notes in a row. Which you're going to also see chromaticism show up in other riffs. So that's Good Times, Bad Times, and it's E Mixolydian. All right, number 9 is Moby Dick, and it's our first riff in drop D. Just the classic drop D where you're just lowering this top string. When you have that, you get these great little angular boxes with the low D root for your riff, like a pentatonic riff. Now, you've heard tons of riffs in drop D, and this won't be the first time in this list where we'll have that low string dropped down. But you get Moby Dick, and you get this great bluesy, angular box shape kind of riff. When you're just in normal drop D, you get this great little set of angular boxes in the pentatonic. You also have great power chord options with one finger. But really what's so great is this great pentatonic that fits in a nice little angular spot. Etc. So you can play riffs, you've got the breaks, and really what it's following is a 12-bar blues riff style. So you've got a riff, pentatonic riff in D. Then it goes to that same riff, but a fourth up. So you'd play the riff in the G, D, E, F, G, 4 up, the G pentatonic. And you have to figure out what's going on with that drop D. But it's the same riff, but now in the 4. And then it goes back to the 1, just like a blues. Now it goes to the 5, just like a 12-bar blues, and it plays a pentatonic riff, more or less, in A. It doesn't play the exact same riff as the D and G. It's a turnaround. And that little turnaround riff is back to the D minor pentatonic. Now we're at number 8, which is the Ocean. This riff is really cool. It's an A minor pentatonic, also with a little bit of that A Mixolydian vibe. So the riff is in A. Also, it has an odd time in the riff. So bum bum ba-da-dum, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. But bum bum ba-da-dum, ba-da-da, 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 da-da-da-da-da. So it's got an odd time feel, but still grooves. I think this is the only odd time riff on my list, but I love it. It's the Ocean, and then it's also got a classic solo at the end. But anyway, let's go through the riff. Number 7 is Immigrant Song, and I love this scene in School of Rock when Jack Black is singing this song to the kids driving the rock and roll van and making his eyebrows go crazy. It's epic. It's also been used amazingly in some of the Thor movies. It's just this epic driving riff that also has great imagery of, Valhalla and big barbarian armies and, Vikings and vibes like that. So all around, it's amazing. It's a driving octave force in F sharp, which is another great spot for rock riffs. One, you've got the octave driving force. But another thing that's cool about F sharp is that you have the open E. Also, a bunch of riffs from the 90s end up using octaves a lot like that. It's always got a real force behind it. Also, you've got great open power chords in this riff. So here it is, Immigrant Song. Number 6 is Heartbreaker. We're back in A, and we are using the A blues scale, specifically the open A blues scale position right here. So it's a great riff using that blues note. You also have that third fret as part of that A minor pentatonic A blues scale. Now what they do in this song that's different, so like a Moby Dick, they go to the 4 of the same riff and the 5. In this one, they modulate up a whole step. So what you would do is you'd play that same riff up a whole step in the B blues scale, and you could play it right here. Back down to a whole step down. So that's called a modulation. Like that. Or not like that. So anyway, that's Heartbreaker. All right, number 5 I have as Communication Breakdown. It's back to the key of E. Love the single note open E type of riff. Right? Driving. With some beautiful power chord stabs. You're never going to go wrong when you are using the 3 chords of Mixolydian, you could consider it. When you're in E Mixolydian, the 3 classic rock chords would be E, D, and A. Makes up tons of rock songs. So you can know that that is used a lot, and it's also a sound that we all like in our riffs. So you can think about that as you play the classic communication breakdown riff. All right, that brings me to number 4, which is Bring It On Home, which has a lot of classic blues elements to it. Right off the bat, it starts with a 12-bar blues before it goes into the monster riff, which is the open E minor pentatonic scale, or a little bit of E Mixolydian in there, but really the basic open pentatonic. But with one major third in there, which comes from E Mixolydian. You put them together, and the groove from that song, the verses, come right from a classic blues turnaround. All right, number 3 is Black Dog, which is a classic A blues kind of riff with some chromaticism. So the normal A blues scale. However, with the chromaticism, we're adding this, which is also in so you've got the blues scale with a little bit of chromaticism, and then you've also got the classic blues call and response with the vocals followed by a monster riff. So you've got a monster riff going on, and that little change in the riff is a variation, but now in the key of E. So we've seen that before in this list, where you take a riff and you go to the 4 and play the riff a 4th up and play the riff a 5th up. This goes right to a 5th up. So the main riff is A, the little change part is now the E blues scale, and flips back around to the A blues scale. And it's with a little bit of chromaticism as well. It's emulating the riff in A. But in E, it's coming from the E minor pentatonic or the blues scale. Back to A. All right, that brings us to number 2, which is Kashmir, and we're going to go beyond the drop D. So we've got the D, A, D, G, but now bring the B down to A, and then the high E down to D. And that comes in handy, especially for the other parts of the song. But the main riff is a driving power chord with the low D that climbs up. Now what's really going on is if you took a D power chord, yo, 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 yo. Who knew that Eminem and Led Zeppelin would be connected? Or Eminem is connected to Led Zeppelin in a way, but you take a power chord and you got that fifth. And when you move it up a half step, you get that mysterious James Bond kind of sound. And then another half step, so we have Chromaticism. And that brings us to riff number 1, which is Whole Lotta Love. It's the gold standard in rock and riffs. I don't know if that's ever been said before. It's in the key of E, E blues-based, pentatonic-based. There is a very secret ingredient in this riff, and was teaching this years and years ago. I didn't realize this little secret riff. And maybe about 5 or 6 years ago, a friend of mine, Jason, who's plays in a Zeppelin tribute band, showed me what makes this riff so amazing. And what's going on is you're playing the E minor pentatonic. And on that root, it then becomes a power chord, but then with the lower open E root there. But here's the secret sauce. The secret sauce is when you play the 5th fret of the A string. When you play that 5th fret of the A string, you bend it up a little bit. Just a little microtonal bend, but the open D string rings out with that little microtonal bend. And when it goes by faster, it just adds a little bit of tension and dissonance there, which really grabs your ear. Way more than the clean riff without that open D string. So here it is without the open D string. Here it is with that open D string added to it. All right, that was it. My 10 favorite Zeppelin riffs broken down for you. If you'd like to see me do this for more Zeppelin riffs or any other band, let me know in the comments below. And of course, I appreciate you subscribing here to the Marty Music YouTube channel. Thanks again. Hope to see you real soon. Take care.